welcome to a new video where I'm unboxing a brand new set of himi gouache paints. This is my first time ever using gouache, and I know some people don't really like the himi gouaches, but I wanted to give them a try anyways, just because I'm not interested in jumping into the world of gouache and getting a super high quality set. So I figured I would film the process and do a little satisfying unboxing as well as a quick review for you guys. The first thing that I have to say about unboxing these gouaches is that it was incredibly difficult for me to get them open. Once I kind of got a few down, it was easy to get the hang of it. And some of them were easier to open than others. Like this first one was just a real struggle. I cut out a lot of me trying to get this thing off. So I eventually, it hurt my thumb and my finger so much from pinching those little tabs that I had to switch over to using a pair of tweezers. And it was very satisfying to mix up what had gotten separated in the shipping process as well. Some of them mixed better than others, and some of them had a thinner consistency. Some of them are quite thick. Overall, I would say there's a pretty good variety of colors as well. I wouldn't say that there's anything obviously missing from this set. This is the 48 color set. And I think it cost me around $45 from Amazon. So that's all I have to say about the unboxing portion, so I will be quiet and come back to tell you more about how the paints actually apply. These little packs are so hard to open.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's so soft.
So when I was trying these out for the first time, I wanted to do a little swatch just to see what each color looked like and kind of gauge how it reacts to water. These are gouache paints, so they kind of act as a medium in between acrylic and watercolor. So you can thin them down with water like you would any other plastic-based paint, but they also hold their own in a thick way, unlike watercolor, if that makes any sense. They can be very opaque, is what I'm trying to say. This color, for instance, was very, very opaque, even with a decent amount of water applied to the brush. Others, like this purple, are very, very thin when you apply water to the brush. So in order to get good color saturation, I would apply less water and use more of the paint. This indigo color is one that I ran into the issue of kind of splotchiness. It didn't really apply very evenly, and I wonder if that's because I added too much water, or I don't know. If I needed to load the brush more, maybe. This set does come with some metallic colors, which are super pretty, and I cannot wait to come up with an excuse to add sparkle into my paintings. They apply okay. I would use probably a liner brush for these. I wouldn't block in huge amounts of color, so I think they would do a good job with that. So as I said, I think there's a pretty good color variation. I like that there's multiple purple options. Usually I have to mix my own purples unless I'm using like a dioxazine purple in oil painting. But it's nice to just have them ready to go. I like the good variety of greens. I think that'll be really good for some landscapes and painting plants and nature and all that. I will say, if going for realism with these paints, I would definitely mix custom colors. I have a palette that I'll have set up for this, but mixing colors together, because these are very vibrant, bright colors, and if I was painting something that to be more realistic, I would definitely have to add some complementary colors, like adding a touch of red into these greens to mute them a little bit and make them more natural looking. But that is true of any medium, and I do that in my oil painting as well. I also really appreciate that it comes in a stay wet palette, so the lid of the palette clamps on and is a pretty airtight seal. There's also like a sponge material in the top that I think you can wet and just leave it in there so that your paints don't get dry and it keeps it a humid environment in there. So now that I've got them all swatched out, I wanted to give it a try and just do a couple of quick sketches just to try them out and see how they acted when actually trying to construct an image. So I'm starting with my shadows. I'm using the colors that are complementary to the color of what I want to paint. So for the orange, I'm starting with blue shadows, and for the peach, I'm starting with green shadows. And with gouache, I am working with my thinnest layer and then building up on top. Kind of similar to oil painting, you want to do fat over lean, so you want to add more oil on top of your thinner layers. With gouache, you want to add more paint on top of your thinner layers. So I'm not diluting the layer on top with more water than I had for the previous layer. Something I found with these brushes is that when I would wet them, they didn't really pick up the paint the way I expected them to. It almost kind of slips right off. So I wonder if that's something that I could solve by putting the paint that I want to use onto a palette and then kind of scrubbing the paint into the brush when it's got water on it so that it actually saturates the entire brush. overall, I really enjoy the experience of painting with them so far. I think for someone like me whose primary medium is not gouache, these will work just perfectly for what I need them for. I feel like gouache lends itself really well to illustration style paintings where you kind of block things in and you don't have a ton of like super refined brushwork. Obviously you can use them that way, but a lot of people tend to use it more as a color blocking type style. So I think these work pretty well for that, which is what I would use them for. It's gonna be a minute before I try any portrait painting with gouache paints, mostly because there's not a ton of good skin tones in the palette, so I would have to mix my own and I would have to learn the colors and how they mix together all over again, like you do when you start working with any medium. So I'll probably be starting with some landscapes and trying out some small, like, maybe some still life studies, just to start. And this sketchbook is all about trying new things and experimenting, and sometimes it doesn't work, as you'll see on this page. Not everything worked out, so I was just quickly painting all these things in, just moving on to the next thing, painting over things, just trying to get a feel for what kind of consistency I like the paint to be and what effects I can achieve. Overall, I'm really glad I gave these a try. I don't really have anything negative to say about them. I wish maybe they were a bit more pigmented, or maybe that's just my inexperience with the medium, but I was thinking that some of them could be a little more pigmented, especially the purples and the blues, but I think those are pretty hard to get really pigmented in general, so I don't really fault them for that. The worst part about the experience with these paints was opening them. Everybody else makes it look so easy, but I really struggled with it. So you can see here's an example of the water kind of making the paint just slip right off the brush, and you've got to really mix it in. So I hope you enjoyed watching me check out these brand new paints. They're new to me. I hope that I can gain some new experience with them and hopefully incorporate them into my standard painting practice. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in my next video.